Welcome to Relaxed Reddit Readings. Today we have 5 Reddit stories for you. AITA stories that will make you pick a side. Story 1. I bought my dream car and my wife lost it. So I finally bought my dream car after busting my butt for years, and now my wife thinks I'm the villain of the story. Let me back up. My wife and I were what people call dinks, double income, no kids, just a couple of cats running the house. We both worked really hard to get where we are, solid careers, financially comfortable, no debt hanging over us. So a little over a year ago, I hit this milestone in my career I'd been chasing for like a decade. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to reward myself. I've loved cars my whole life, like posters on the wall as a kid, the whole thing. So I went out and bought basically my dream car. This thing originally had a sticker price of about 130 grand, but I found one used for 67,000. I was thrilled, I felt like I got a steal. I did the math, we could afford it without touching savings, without affecting retirement, nothing. I ran the numbers like 5 times before I even test drove it. Now here's where it gets messy. My wife found out how much it cost, and she was furious. Not just annoyed, furious. She said I should have talked to her first, that this was a joint financial decision even though it came entirely from money I earned and we keep some separate accounts for personal spending. That's actually the whole reason we set it up that way years ago, so we could each do stuff like this without having to run every purchase by the other person. She's bought plenty of things with her own personal account, clothes, a ridiculous number of shoes honestly, spa weekends with her sisters, and I never said a word because that's her money to spend how she wants. But apparently a car is different in her eyes because of the size of the number. She keeps saying things like, what if something happens and we need that money, what if one of us loses our job? And look, I get being cautious, I really do, but we have a solid emergency fund separate from all of this, that's not what this car touched. She also brought up like, what kind of example this sets, like I'm being irresponsible or flashy, and honestly that kind of hurt because I've never been a flashy person. I don't buy new phones every year, I don't have a closet full of stuff, this was genuinely the one big indulgent thing I've done for myself in like 15 years of working non-stop. Her sister actually took her side and said it's a slap in the face to buy something that expensive without a real conversation first, like a sit down, here's what I'm thinking kind of talk. But I did tell her before I bought it. I mentioned it, I said hey I'm thinking about finally getting that car I've always wanted, and she just kind of laughed it off like she didn't think I was serious. So now she's saying I basically snuck it past her, and I'm saying no, I told you, you just didn't take me seriously. It's been a rough couple weeks honestly. We're barely fighting about anything else, it just keeps circling back to this car. I love the thing, every time I drive it I get this genuinely happy feeling I haven't had in years, and now that happiness is tangled up with guilt because my wife is upset every time she sees it in the driveway. So, did I mess up here by not looping her in more, even though it was my own money? Or is she overreacting to a purchase that doesn't even affect our financial security? What would you have done in my shoes? If you're enjoying these stories, hit that like button and let me know in the comments which story you relate to the most. Story 2. My ex wants me to move our son back and I refused. So my ex and I had a kid together when we were just 17, and now she's trying to convince everyone I stole him from her. Let me give you the background. We're both 24 now. Back then she was going through some serious mental health stuff, and honestly we just weren't in a good place as a couple, so we split. I ended up moving about 2 hours away to get a fresh start. For a while we did the split custody thing, 1 week with me, 1 week with her, back and forth, back and forth. It actually worked okay for a bit. But then it came time for him to start school, and that's when I had to make a real decision, not just a temporary arrangement. I looked at my life and I looked at hers, and it wasn't even close honestly. I have a steady job, I've had the same job for years now. I own a house, it's not huge but it's stable, it's his, he has his own room, his own routine. I have my life together in a way that a 5 or 6-year-old needs. Meanwhile she was still bouncing around. And I don't say this to be cruel, she went through a lot, but the reality is she's had 4 more kids since then with 3 different men. 4. In the years since we split. Her living situation has changed multiple times, sometimes she's with family, sometimes she's with a partner, it's never been consistent. So when it came time to enroll our son in school, I made the call to enroll him here, where I live, where things are stable. She was upset, obviously, she wanted him closer to her, she felt like I made a unilateral decision without really consulting her the way I should have. And okay, I'll admit the way I handled the actual conversation probably wasn't great, I kind of just told her this is what's happening instead of really sitting down and hashing it out together like adults. But my reasoning hasn't changed. He's in a good school here, he has friends, he has a bedroom that's actually his, he has a routine, dinner at the same time every night, bedtime at the same time every night. When he goes to her place it's chaos, it's a full house with 4 other kids, different dads coming and going, and I'm not saying she's a bad mom, I really am not, I know she loves him. But love isn't always the same as stability, and I think a kid needs both. Now she's telling family members that I basically kidnapped our son by keeping him in another state, that I'm keeping him from her on purpose, that I'm trying to erase her from his life. That's not true at all, he still sees her, we still do holidays, we still do summers, I've never once tried to cut her out. I just made the call on where he's going to go to school and build his actual day-to-day life, because someone had to make that decision and I felt like I was in the better position to make it work. Her side of the family thinks I'm the bad guy here, they think I should have let him go to school near her since technically we were still supposed to be doing some kind of custody split. But I keep thinking, if the roles were reversed, if I was the one with an unstable living situation and 4 other kids from different relationships, wouldn't people be saying she made the right call keeping him with her? So, did I do the wrong thing here by keeping my son in a stable environment even though it meant putting distance between him and his mom? Or was I right to prioritize consistency over keeping things 50-50? What would you have done in this situation? Story 3. I finally refused to let my twin brother move back in. So my twin brother wants to move back into my house again, and I finally told him no, and now the whole family's acting like I abandoned him. Let me explain. I'm 35, I own my own home, worked hard to get it, no help from anybody, just years of grinding. My twin, we'll call him Dale, has had a rough go of it for a long time, unstable jobs, unstable relationships, and honestly some legal trouble mixed in there too. Over the years I've let him move in with me on and off, and when I say on and off I mean it adds up to about 5 total years of my life where he's been living under my roof trying to get back on his feet. Every single time, I set the same simple rules. Rule 1, no smoking inside the house. Rule 2, no unannounced guests. Sounds basic, right? Reasonable stuff. Well, the last time he stayed with me, he broke both of those rules constantly. He smoked in the shower, thinking the water would somehow hide it, and left cigarette butts just laying around the bathroom like it was nothing. He brought random people over all the time, guys I'd never met, women I'd never met, at all hours, without ever giving me a heads up. And whenever I brought it up, whenever I said hey man, we talked about this, he would flip it around on me. He'd tell me I was imagining things, that I never actually told him that rule, that I was being controlling, that I was the one causing problems in the house, not him. Classic gaslighting, and it took me way too long to actually recognize it for what it was because he's my twin, we're supposed to have this bond, right, this connection other siblings don't have. But after the last time he moved out, and it wasn't even really his choice, things had gotten so tense I basically had to tell him it was time to go. My whole family acted like I was the villain. My mom kept saying, he's your brother, you're supposed to look out for him, you're twins, you're supposed to have each other's backs no matter what. My aunt said something similar, like blood is blood, you don't turn your back on family. But nobody in my family was living with the smoke smell soaked into their walls, nobody was cleaning up cigarette butts, nobody had strangers walking through their kitchen at 2 in the morning. Now Dale's in another rough patch, surprise surprise, another unstable situation, and he's asked to move back in with me again. And I said no. Not maybe, not let's talk about it, just no. And you'd think I told him I never wanted to speak to him again the way my family reacted. My mom actually said I was choosing to be heartless, that I have the resources to help him and I'm choosing not to. But here's the thing nobody wants to acknowledge, I did help him. 5 years total. That's not nothing, that's not turning my back on someone, that's giving someone chance after chance after chance and watching them disrespect the one thing I asked for in return, basic respect for my home and my rules. I love my brother, I do, we're twins, there is a bond there whether I like it or not sometimes. But loving someone doesn't mean you have to keep letting them treat your house like it doesn't matter and then convince you that you're the unreasonable one for being upset about it. So, am I wrong for finally putting my foot down after 5 years of this pattern? Or is my family right that twins are supposed to be different, that I should just let him back in no matter what he's done? What would you have done? Story 4. I said yes to buying a stranger food, then changed my mind. So I was at McDonald's minding my own business, and a woman convinced me to buy her food for her baby, and then everything about that story fell apart in front of me. Okay, let me just set the scene. I'm 19, I'm a girl, I was at a McDonald's near my university, just grabbing something quick before heading back to campus. I'm standing at the kiosk ordering, and this woman comes up to me, looked like she was maybe in her 30s, early 40s. She asked if I could buy her some food for her baby. And when she said baby, I pictured like an actual baby, like a toddler, an infant, something like that. So obviously my heart kind of melted a little. I said of course, yeah, no problem, let's get your baby something to eat. I'm already planning in my head like, okay, I'll grab a Happy Meal, some apple slices, whatever a baby eats. But then as we're standing there together at the kiosk, she starts adding more to the order. Not baby food. Big Macs. Large fries. Large drinks. Multiple of them. I'm looking at this order building up and I'm confused, so I ask her, wait, how old is your baby? Like this seems like a lot of food for an infant. And that's when she tells me her baby is actually 17. 17 years old. Not a baby. A teenager, practically an adult, who apparently was sitting outside or somewhere nearby the whole time while his mom came in to hustle a stranger for food. I felt kind of tricked in that moment, genuinely, because baby means something very specific to most people, and she used that word very intentionally I think, knowing it would get a certain reaction out of someone like me. So at that point I told her, I'm sorry, I'm not really comfortable paying for all of this, I thought we were talking about actual baby food for an actual baby, not a full meal for a teenager. And she did not take that well. She got loud, she got upset, she started saying stuff like I already said yes, I can't back out now, that's so messed up of me, how could I do that to a mother trying to feed her child? She made a scene, other people in the McDonald's were starting to look over, and I felt my face just get hot with embarrassment, but I still stood my ground and said no, I'm not comfortable buying this much food, I'm a broke college student myself honestly, I don't have unlimited money to hand out even if I wanted to help. Eventually she stormed off, still muttering stuff, and I just stood there feeling shaken and a little guilty even though logically I know I didn't do anything wrong. I've been going back and forth on this ever since. Part of me feels awful, like what if she really was struggling, what if her son really was hungry and I just made assumptions about her hustling me for something. But then another part of me feels like the word baby was chosen specifically to manipulate my emotions, because if she'd said, hey, can you buy food for my teenage son, I probably would have said no immediately, or at least thought about it a lot longer before agreeing. It felt like the whole interaction was designed to catch me off guard and guilt me into a yes before I had time to actually think it through. So, was I wrong to back out after I found out the actual situation wasn't what she described? Or was I right to change my answer once I realized I'd been kind of misled about who I was even helping? What would you have done in that McDonald's? Story 5. I refused to let my sister's kids stay over again. So my sister's kids trashed my apartment last time they stayed over, and now she thinks I'm heartless for finally saying no. Okay, so a little bit about my life first. I'm 27, I live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment. I worked hard to get this place. I actually really love having my own space. It's quiet, it's mine, everything has its spot. My sister is 35, she's a single mom raising 2 kids on her own, a 7-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl. And I want to be really clear, I have so much respect for her. Being a single mom is exhausting, she works a lot, she's juggling everything by herself with basically no help. So every month or so she'd ask if the kids could stay over at my place for a weekend so she could just have a little bit of time to herself, breathe, maybe sleep in, whatever single moms desperately need and rarely get. And every single time I said yes. Happily, honestly. I love my niece and nephew, we'd bake cookies, watch movies, do little craft projects. It was genuinely fun for me too, not just some obligation I was fulfilling. But last time they stayed over, something shifted. I don't know if they were just having an off weekend or what, but it was chaos from start to finish. They jumped on my furniture until one of the cushions ripped. They got into my art supplies, which I actually use for freelance work on the side, and completely ruined a project I'd been working on for a client, like markers and paint everywhere, pages torn. They broke a lamp that had been a gift from my grandmother before she passed, which honestly stung more than anything else that happened that weekend. And when I gently tried to redirect them, like hey guys, let's not jump on the couch, let's be careful with that, they basically ignored me, and when I mentioned it to my sister afterward, expecting maybe an apology or at least some acknowledgement, she kind of brushed it off, said kids will be kids, said I shouldn't have left my supplies out where they could reach them in the first place, like it was somehow my fault for not childproofing my entire apartment for 2 visits a month. That comment really got under my skin honestly. So this month when she asked again if the kids could stay over, I told her no, not until we can talk about what happened last time and maybe set some actual expectations or rules for behavior when they're at my place. She got really upset, said I was punishing kids for being kids, said I clearly don't actually care about giving her a break, that I'm being selfish over some broken stuff that doesn't even matter that much in the grand scheme of things. But it wasn't just stuff to me, some of it was one of a kind, like my grandmother's lamp. You can't just replace that with a trip to Target. And it's not that I don't want to help her anymore, I really do want to keep having the kids over, I love them, I want to be a part of their lives. I just think there needs to be some actual accountability and maybe a conversation about boundaries before we just go right back to the same routine like nothing happened. She's acting like I'm the bad guy for wanting that, like asking for basic respect for my space and my belongings is some huge unreasonable demand. So, am I wrong here for pausing the sleepovers until we can actually talk this through? Or is she out of line for expecting me to just let it go and reset the cycle without any real conversation? What would you have done? If you enjoyed these stories, drop a comment telling me which one was your favorite. And if you want more relaxed Reddit readings, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, like, comment and subscribe for more relaxed Reddit readings.